Hi, my name's Lissa Gazleo, and I wanted to go over the phenomenon of mental health on TikTok. I would like to explain why this is a part of popular culture, but to do that I would have to first explain what popular culture itself is. The reading What is Popular Culture by Story tells that it is hard to come up with a black and white definition. However, culture that is widely favored and liked by many is a good place to start. We also explore that pop culture is mainly made for the people by the people. Going off the dictionary definition, we can also define pop culture as modern popular culture transmitted via the masses, media, and aimed particularly at younger people. I think mental health on TikTok qualifies as popular culture, especially because TikTok is a social media app that's widely used by the masses and has an influence on today's current culture and society. While I will mostly be going over the controversies of discussing mental health on TikTok today, I would like first to go over the good. For one, because of TikTok and other social media apps, mental health awareness is at the highest it's ever been. People suffering from various mental health issues no longer feel alone when they see someone else who's going through the same struggles as they are. They are also able to explain their everyday struggles due to certain conditions, and find a community of others who can relate and make them feel heard. Unfortunately, the bad part of so many people sharing TikToks relating to mental health and mental issues is that misinformation is so high. The vast majority of people on mental health TikTok are not medical professionals, but are instead just everyday people sharing their experiences with mental health. This is not the problem. The problem happens when these people, who are again not professionals, start giving out advice to the masses. While some of this advice being given may be actual good advice, pseudoscience and misinformation is being presented alongside genuine information, making it hard to tell what's factual and what is not, while just scrolling through the app. What's very concerning is that there's been an influx of videos being pushed out through TikTok listing very normal parts of being human as symptoms of specific mental disorders such as ADHD or anxiety, which are not disorders to be taken lightly. The problem is that everyone can relate to having certain symptoms of anxiety or ADHD. For example, we have all felt anxious before, but having these symptoms does not necessarily mean that you have the mental disorder. The common algorithm for these posts is something along the lines of, do you get distracted while doing your homework? Well, you may be suffering from ADHD. In reality, there's no way to diagnose any mental health disorder based on only one symptom, but instead disorders are diagnosed by professionally trained doctors who can observe your symptoms, rule out any other mental or physical issues, and diagnose you from there. These so-called symptoms that mental health TikTokers are pushing out are intentionally as broad and relatable as possible, because the more people relate, the more people will engage with this video, and that's how they end up with thousands of likes and being pushed out to more and more people. In Moment's article From Zero to Hate in Just a TikTok, Andrew Michaels conducted an experiment to see how easy it was to go down the alt-right pipeline on TikTok. It turns out it was not difficult at all. But the way TikTok works, the more you interact with a certain subject by watching and liking and commenting on videos, the more likely you are to be recommended similar videos. This is relevant to the topic of mental health on TikTok because the same idea applies when it comes to the algorithm. As stated in the New York Post article, how TikTok has become a dangerous breeding ground for mental disorders. Teens start with seeing a TikTok about mental health, and as many teens are and were struggling with their mental health, especially around COVID time, they may relate to what certain creators have to say about their mental disorders and are interacting with these videos. From there on, they will be fed more and more videos through the TikTok algorithm, and it gets to the point where many teens ask themselves if maybe there is something wrong with them. They then search and search, sometimes very normal symptoms that can be related to loneliness, stress, or just being human, until these impressionable individuals are convinced that they have these mental disorders that TikTok keeps shoving down their throats. If you have ever had the flu and Googled your symptoms only to find out you might have cancer, when in reality it is just a cold, you can see why teens being fed this information can lead to them actually believing it and thinking there is something seriously wrong with them. A theory by Stuart Hall, which was discussed in the Stuart Hall video Race, Gender, and Class in the Media, is that certain ideologies relating to race, gender, class, ethnicity, and religion is something that is enforced through the media we consume. This theory infers that there is no way to make media about a certain group of people without creating or reinforcing stereotypes or an ideology on them. An example of this would actually come from the documentary GTFO, Women in Gaming, where it is revealed that there is a certain cycle of women being represented poorly, usually being sexualized, that leads to men harassing their female counterparts through online gaming and not taking them seriously in the real world. I mention this because the representation of people with mental health on social media has a real impact on how people with mental health issues are dealt with in real life. One of the worst outcomes of mental health TikTok is the spreading of misinformation. Once again, the broadening of certain symptoms so that almost everyone can fit into the box of having mental health disorders such as ADHD or anxiety, or even straight up lies about how to treat mental illness can end up being very dangerous to people who do struggle with mental health issues but are taking the advice of TikTokers rather than professionals. Another big issue that is currently very prevalent on mental health TikTok is the issue of self-diagnosis. This is a topic that people on TikTok are really passionate about at the moment. On one side, you have a creator saying that if you suspect you have a mental illness, you should talk to a specially trained doctor, which has always been the case. All the while, people in the comments will be calling them out for being ableist and classist. But how did this happen? Well, one of the current trends on mental health TikTok at the moment is taking self-diagnostic tests, specifically for mental illness that they suspect they may have. Creators that make this content are influencing or even encouraging others to take similar tests and screenings in order to diagnose themselves. This trend is especially prevalent in self-named autism talk, which is a community of people with autism or suspected autism on TikTok. The problem is, autism is such a complex disorder, as it's a spectrum and people express symptoms very differently from each other. This means it cannot be diagnosed by just checking off certain checklists of symptoms. Yet many TikTok users are doing exactly that through online autism tests after it has been recommended to them by their favorite content creators, or if they want to be like their favorite content creators. The big problem with self-diagnosing autism in particular is that the symptoms overlap with many other mental health disorders such as ADHD or anxiety, with many of the symptoms being extremely similar, meaning only a trained psychiatrist or psychologist would be able to differentiate between the different diagnoses. On the other hand, autism can be very often misdiagnosed, especially in females who are more likely to mask their autistic symptoms in order to fit in. Once again, this huge spectrum of symptoms is why it is so important for an individual to get diagnosed professionally. I can see the appeal of self-diagnosis. Not everyone has the money or accessibility to see a doctor, which is why some people who suggest it are being called ableist or classist. However, when it is possible, I suspect it is really worth it to seek a professional diagnosis, as so many symptoms of different mental disorders overlap, but can have completely different treatments. Mistreating or lack of treatment can lead to further deterioration of one's mental health, which we all know can be very dangerous. The problem is when people think they're more capable of diagnosing themselves because of the trends they see on TikTok than a medical professional who has been through years of training. Overall, once again, I do believe it is very important for mental health to be discussed, and for mental health sufferers to be able to have a place such as TikTok to share their experiences and frustrations and be heard on a platform that they feel they have a community on. However, the study titled Deconstructing TikTok Videos on Mental Health, Cross-Sectional Descriptive Content Analysis shows that more than ever, young teens especially are turning to social media apps like TikTok for support with their mental health. But is TikTok the best place to turn to for support? Corey H. Batch, a professional of public health at William Patterson's University of New Jersey, doesn't think so. In the New York Times article, Teens Turn to TikTok in Search of a Mental Health Diagnosis, he states, "A great concern is that adolescents may be making false diagnosis and treatment plans in the absence of professional insight." As a final statement, as someone who has suffered from mental health issues myself, I do encourage those that are financially and physically able to find and get professional help.